Welcome to the Gradius 3 arcade mode flawless run. Now, just a warning for everybody. Do not, I repeat, do not ever attempt this challenge. You will get so demoralized. You will want to quit. You will want to die. This was my hardest challenge to date. You cannot comprehend how hard this is until you try it. Arcade mode is just so unfair. The enemies shoot so much, they shoot so fast, and at the beginning of the game, like right here, the enemies are so much better than you. And you will die a lot of times at the beginning of the game, like the first 2 levels, just because the enemies, they're so much more powerful than you. And I could say at least a quarter of my attempts were lost within the first 10 minutes of the game. And that's another thing. The game is so long that you're just, when you die at like 35 minutes, you're gonna feel so depressed. And that happened to me so many times because obviously the later levels in the game are the hardest, and that's where you're most likely going to die. And it's so hard. Dude, just don't do this. Don't put yourself through the pain. You don't want to do it. So let's talk about a lot of the weapons in this game, because Gradius 3 has this nice system where you get to customize all of your weapons and stuff like that. And choosing the right weapons could be the difference between life and death in this challenge. So you want to pick the right weapons. First off, when you go to the weapon select screen, there's 2 options you can do. You can either choose one of the preset classes, which are all terrible, never choose them, or you can go into edit mode, which is what you should do, because there you can pick all of the best weapons and stuff like that. So for the missile category, I choose Hawk Wind. I don't really think there's a debate. You should choose Hawk Wind. The other missile options, they're not worth it. Hawk Wind is the best. Basically, it allows you to shoot missiles out of your ship and all of your orange glowing balls. But the direction they shoot, it depends on where you are on the screen. If you are on the top half of the screen, the missiles will shoot up top. If you're at the bottom half of the screen, they will shoot on the bottom. And when you have 4 options, you can have 2 missiles going up top and 2 missiles going on the bottom, and that really helps out with a lot of the enemies that like to stay on the ceiling and the floor. So I highly recommend you go with Hawk Wind. For the double category, don't even bother with it. You are never going to be using the double weapon. It's completely useless, so just pick the first one so you can save some time, or pick another one, whatever one you want, but you aren't going to be using it because they're all very useless. The laser weapon, it outclasses them by so much. Speaking of the laser weapon, I choose the twin laser. Now, a lot of people that play this game, they like to choose the energy laser. And now, the energy laser, you can charge it up and it does a lot of damage. But I find that the energy laser really isn't that useful for just all the general levels. I find that it's just not as effective against all the enemies as the twin laser is. And an interesting thing about the twin laser is that it has piercing abilities. When you hit an enemy, it doesn't stop. It keeps going, so it really helps out on some of the later levels. And it also, it seems to work better against some enemies, like the bubbles in this stage. The energy laser just doesn't do so well against these. You can try out the energy laser. The energy laser is better against bosses, I will say that. However, the twin laser is just better for everything else. So you can experiment with the energy laser if you want, but I recommend the twin laser. I think it's better. And also, when you combine it with the option setup I'm using, the one where you can have a giant wall of lasers, the twin laser just works so well. It destroys enemies so quickly, and you can cover a large variety of the screen, or a large portion of the screen. And I find that the twin laser is just the best for that. Now, for the option category, the orange glowing balls that are around your ship, I like to choose the F option. Some people like to choose the R option, which basically has the options around your ship. That's okay. That one was alright, but I preferred the one I'm using. The reason being is that it works better with the Hawkwind. You can just stand in the middle of the screen and have 2 missiles go up top and 2 missiles go on the bottom. So you can try out the R option, but I recommend F because you can just cover more ground with the F option. Now for the question mark, you really only have one option. Choose Reduce. If you choose anything other than Reduce, you are making a mistake. A Reduce will make your ship a lot smaller, and it will allow you to take 2 more hits. It's just the best option. You need to be really small to maneuver through all of the fire that's going to be thrown at you, because trust me, there will be a lot of bullets on screen, especially in the later stages, so you need the Reduce power-up. Do not choose any of the shields. The shields do give you more hits, like one of them gives you 10 hits, I think, but you're still the same size, so do not pick anything else besides Reduce. Reduce is your best option. Do not pick anything else. And for the last category, the exclamation mark, it really doesn't matter. I choose Mega Crush just because sometimes when you're in a dangerous situation with a lot of enemies around you, you can use it to get rid of them. But in reality, you're not going to be using it that much, so it doesn't really matter which one you choose. Just pick whatever one you think will be most useful. Once you get your ship powered up fully, like I am right here, it becomes a lot easier. All the enemies seem to go down pretty quickly, and for now, at least until we get to some of the last levels, the only thing you have to worry about are the bosses. Because with the twin laser, it's not that effective against the bosses. The energy laser is obviously more effective, but I find that the bosses aren't incredibly difficult. So, the stages, they're definitely harder than the bosses, so that's why I choose twin laser. Just because it seems to work better. I think it's a lot better. You can try the energy laser, and maybe you've played this game before, and maybe you really like the energy laser. But I don't. I don't see the point of the energy laser. I think it's only useful against the bosses. Now there's a certain strategy that I like to use throughout this challenge. Now, with the Reduce power-up, you get 2 extra hits, and when you get hit once, your ship grows a little bit larger, and then once you get hit again, it grows to full size again. Now sometimes when you're in that middle power-up, or that middle size, I get hit intentionally, and then I immediately go back to Reduce mode. I mean, I usually have it so my power-up bar at the bottom is on the Reduce category, and then once I get hit again, I immediately go back into Reduce mode, just so I can have the smallest ship possible, and that's a really good strategy that I recommend you employ. It's just, you can get hit twice so quickly, so you want you want as many hits as you can possibly get, and you also want to be as small as a target as possible, because there will be a lot of bullets. Trust me, in the last 2 levels, there are so many bullets that fly on screen. Now, with arcade mode, the primary difference is that the enemies move a lot faster and they shoot more often. And that becomes an issue with some of the later stages. They move really fast and they shoot a whole lot. So I'm not gonna lie, you need a lot of reflexes to do this. This challenge is very, very reflex heavy. There's just times where no planning can help you out. No amount of practicing or planning will help you succeed. Sometimes you just need pure reflexes to dodge bullets, and I'm not gonna lie, this is really hard, and I only recommend you try this challenge if you are really confident with your abilities to do 2D shooters, or no, you have to be an expert in 2D shooters, believe me. You're not gonna succeed otherwise. Now, if you want a good game to help you prepare for this challenge, I recommend Ikaruga for, it's on multiple systems. I have it for the GameCube. If you could beat Ikaruga no problem, then you shouldn't have any problems with this challenge. I have played Ikaruga extensively, so I'm sure that helped out a whole lot. But that game's a little bit different than this one because of the whole mechanic where you absorb bullets, and you probably don't know what I'm talking about unless you've played the game. But it's a really awesome game, and if you want to do this challenge, I recommend you play that for a while and then try to do this, because this is hard. This took me so long. I was afraid that this was going to take me 1,000 attempts. Luckily it didn't. I fell short by a little bit, but man, this just took so long. I played this game for like 6 months, every day. And it's just at some points, I didn't feel like playing the game anymore. I felt like quitting. And if you've been following me for quite a while now, then you know that I've been struggling with this challenge for months. I released videos, some of which saying, should I quit the challenge? Or another one where I died at the worst possible location. I'll talk about it when we reach that point, but at that point I just wanted to quit the challenge. I didn't want to continue any longer. So here's our boss for the volcano area stage. It's just a bunch of things. I don't know what they are, but they just rotate around the room. It's really not much of a threat at all. If you're using the option that I am, you can stand in safety and still shoot at them. You shouldn't have any problems with this boss. It's one of the easiest bosses in the game. And now the bosses in this game, they are tough, but they're still not worth giving up the twin laser for. They're not at all. Oh, and here's our real boss. That was just like a pre-boss. Now, a lot of the bosses in this game, they're like spaceships like this, and they often involve attacks where you have to like weave in between lasers, and it's tough. It's tough. You gotta be prepared. And also, this is where the reduced power-up really comes in handy. With a lot of these laser attacks, it is possible to dodge them with the full-sized ship, like if you're at maximum size. However, you have to be incredibly precise. If you are just 1 millimeter off, you're gonna die. But with the reduced power-up, you have a lot more leeway. You have a lot more space to maneuver between the lasers, and that's why reduce is your only option. Choosing anything other than reduce is just a mistake, and I see no reason to ever pick any of the shield power-ups. They are useless. Now, the enemy behind me right now, it likes to come on screen and steal one of your orange glowing balls. They're options, I think they're called. I don't know why they're called options. It just sounds weird. But they like to steal them, and sometimes you just can't avoid them, because sometimes you're so focused on what's happening in front of you because of, there's a bunch of enemies and they're shooting a whole lot at you. And sometimes you just, you can't avoid them. Try to avoid it if you can, but don't risk your life trying to avoid it, because at this point, you don't need many. There's nothing left for you to upgrade, so all of the orange power-ups that are lying around, you can just use them to get another option really quickly, so don't worry about it. If you can dodge it, great, do it, but if you can't, don't risk your life, just take the hit, let him take one from you. It's not worth risking it. I should have mentioned this earlier, but I don't expect you to watch this whole thing in one sitting. It's 41 minutes long. I know a ton of people don't have 41 minutes in their day. So, feel free to watch this in multiple sittings. Watch it in 2 parts, 20 minutes each. Watch it in 3, like 10 to 13 minutes each, like a normal video of mine. If you do manage to get through this in one sitting, then you are a champion, and you deserve the UAA Medal of Approval, we'll call it. I don't really know. But one thing that really kept me in this challenge was the soundtrack of this game. It's amazing. It is Super Nintendo at its best. It's fantastic. Like, I have no complaints with this soundtrack. Every single song is awesome. And just listening to some of the songs kept me in it, and it kept me from getting really angry at the game. Because with a lot of my challenges, I get somewhat angry, but this one, I got really angry at some points, especially at one point later on in the challenge. Or not in this video, but at one point I died at the very end of the game. If you saw my earlier Gradius videos, then you know what I'm talking about. And I'll be talking about that wall. Believe me, I'm gonna be talking about that wall. Ugh. Anyways, that last level was filled with these totem poles, and they shot a lot of nuclear circles. They remind me a lot from the circles from the original Metroid, if you know what I'm talking about. But they're not much of a threat. They can be destroyed by shooting at them, so don't worry about them. And our boss it's two giant totem poles. They throw out a bunch of debris, and then a bunch of rocks fall from the ceiling. Don't really worry about the debris too much. I'd more focus on the rocks that are falling from the ceiling, because those are harder to dodge. And if you just continuously fire, then you're gonna kill most of the debris anyway, so don't worry about it. I killed the bottom one first, just for no reason. I killed the bottom one first. That's what I did every time. No particular reason. But you shouldn't have too much trouble with that boss. He's pretty simple. He's not one of the harder bosses in the game. And I don't think I ever died to him. Some of the bosses did take quite a few attempts for me. I know one boss, I think it's the next level actually, it took around 50 because I guess it's the hardest boss in the game. I can't think of one that's harder, but it just made me angry because you'll see when we get there. In between every level, there's these transition moments where you're just flying through space and you kill really easy enemies. You really won't have much trouble here. These are your times to relax. It's the same music track every time, so you know it's the time to relax. Don't worry. A lot of easy enemies will be coming at you. Okay, no, it's not this level with the hard boss. Although the boss in this level did kill me quite a few times. But here's our fire world. It's a planet on fire. And in this world, you're going to be seeing a lot of fire-based enemies, as well as your standard ship enemies. These ones, when you hit them, they break apart. And here is where the twin laser comes in handy. Because when you do hit these enemies, and then they break apart, you can kill them with the same bullet. You cannot do that with the energy laser or any of the other laser weapons. And that's one of the reasons why I say the twin laser is the best. It really helps out in this stage, and helps out with, it really helps out a lot in the stage 2, the one with all the bubbles. And that's just why I say that the twin laser is better. I mean, you can try this level with the energy laser. I don't think I ever made it this far with the energy laser because I really experimented with a lot of setups just to find the best one, and I think this is the best one. I did experiment with the energy laser and all the other laser options. I did forget to mention that there's a laser option called the Ripple, and the Ripple is actually pretty good. Combined with the option I'm using, you can cover almost the entire screen. But the reason I didn't pick it is it doesn't have the same piercing effect that the twin laser does. It doesn't go through enemies and stuff like that. So our boss for the stage, it's a dragon with 2 heads, but both heads they're on opposite sides. It's like a worm with 2 heads on each end. It's very peculiar, but you shouldn't have too much trouble with this boss, mainly because a lot of the times he just draws circles in certain areas in the stage. So I recommend you just go inside the circle and he won't hurt you. And he can kind of curl in weird ways and he might kill you. He killed me a few times, but overall he shouldn't cause you too much frustration. It's a rather simple boss. Let's just say that there are much harder bosses coming up, and I think the next level is the one with the hard boss. I can never remember the order to all the levels in this game. I do towards the end of the game, because when you get to the end of the game, you have all the hard levels, and those are really memorable, and some of the earlier levels, they just kind of blend together for me. But I think this is it. I'll know by the music track. Yes, this is it. This is it. Also, one quick note, this is my favorite music track in the game. I don't know, I just really like it. If you are a very, very hardcore UAA fan, then you know that this song appeared at the very end of the Mega Man X2 Kirby Challenge. And that was supposed to be sort of an elaborate hint that I was working on the Gradius 3 Flawless Run, and that's when I started it. And, well, now it's March, so it's been quite a while since then. I think the Mega Man X2 Kirby Challenge was posted in July, and I started it a bit before that, so I've been working on this since, July, August, something like that. And it's just, I played it almost every day. Like, I didn't play it every day. I skipped a few days, like holidays, and just some days where I just felt like, no, I'm not playing this game today. I just felt really aggravated with the game. I didn't feel like playing it anymore, so some days I didn't play it, but for the most part, I played this game every day for 6 straight months, and I don't think I'm ever gonna play this game again. I mean, it's just, when you play this game so much, you just get sick of it. When you play the same game over and over and over and over and over again, you just get sick of it after a while. And to be honest, I don't think I'm ever gonna come back to this game. Don't get me wrong, it's a great game, and I do enjoy playing it, but now I just have too many bad memories with this game, too many frustrating moments, too much time spent. I can specifically remember a few nights where I stayed up all night playing this game, and I failed, and at the end I just felt like it was a waste of time. Anyways, here's the boss I was talking about earlier. It's a giant plant type thing, and this boss is really difficult. It likes to suck you in, and that's not too bad, but at the bottom, 2 branches of it, they shoot 3 bullets each, and those can hurt you. Like, it's hard to weave between them, especially when it's sucking you in, so you kind of have to fight the force that's pulling you in, as well as dodge all the bullets. It's hard to explain, and you kind of need to play it to understand the feel of it. And, like, moments like this, where you can't tell where the bullets are coming from because the boss blocks them, so you kind of have to, like, predict where they come from. Not really. It's a tough boss, and hopefully you are at the smallest possible size, because you are going to need it. I think I entered the boss at medium size, and then I got hit once, and then I got scared. I'm like, oh god, please don't get hit again. Please don't get hit again. But luckily, I made it through. And we're at the halfway point now, finally. Yeah, so if you can't tell by this point, this game is really long, and that's one of the hardest parts of this challenge. Doing the whole thing, because it's so long. Like, imagine if I were to do, like, I don't know, the Mega Man X2 Kirby Challenge in one, the whole game in one sitting. Like, not segmented like I normally do, but just imagine that, and I think they'd be around... No. What am I saying? If I did the Mega Man X2 in one... or Mega Man X2 Kirby Challenge in one sitting, I would never do that. That would be impossible. But when you segment it up, it becomes a lot easier because you can only do one level at a time, and you don't have to worry about doing the same levels over and over again. But with this challenge, I didn't really have that option. I had to play the whole game and hope that I succeeded. And, well, I did not exceed over 900 times. Now for this level, things start to speed up. Like, the game literally gets incredibly fast. Luckily, there's only turret enemies, but they do shoot a lot of bullets on arcade mode, so you gotta really maneuver between them, and you're gonna die here a few times. I know I did, just because you can't avoid all the bullets, and then sometimes with those walls right there, you're going to run into them, and it happens sometimes. You run into the walls, you're trying to focus on some enemies, and you just run into the wall. Or you're trying to get through the wall, and an enemy gets a bullet on you, and you die, and that's just what happens with this challenge. It's hard to focus on everything you have to dodge, because there's stage hazards, there's enemies that fly, there's enemies that stay stationary but shoot a lot of bullets, and yeah. So after that section, you get this area where there's a ton of enemies that just give you free power-ups. If you need anything, if you need to reduce yourself, do that. But this section is solely meant for you to power up your ship. And the reason being is that right after this section, we have a boss rush. Now, it's not your standard boss rush, not like any other Mega Man game boss rush. No, all of these bosses are completely new, completely unique bosses, and I love this area. This is really cool. You see new bosses, and you fight them all in a row. And I don't know why it's right now. I feel like this would have been more appropriate right before the final level of the game, but I guess the developers thought differently. Now, all of these bosses, they're not too bad. The only one that's really difficult is the one coming after this. Just remember their attacks, and with a lot of these bosses, if you have the setup I'm using, you can stand out of the way, like out of danger, and still hit the boss. And that's one of the great things about the setup I'm using. You can stay out of danger, out of the way of all the attacks, and still attack the boss, and that's why I recommend the setup I'm using. Now this boss, I lost a lot of attempts here. It's just, I don't know, I just can't process the way the tentacles are moving and shooting. It's really weird. I can't explain it, but it moves very strangely, and it's hard to dodge all the bullets, and luckily the boss, it goes down pretty quickly. But I did lose quite a few attempts there, around maybe like 20, something like that. And it's hard to explain. You have to experience it for yourself. Now with this boss, if you do not have the reduce option, good luck. You need to either dodge this laser storm or weave between the endpoints. Now if you have the reduce setup, it's a lot easier because you can easily fit through the attack, but if you don't, it's gonna be tough. You can fit through it with the full-sized ship, but it's incredibly hard. It's a tight squeeze, and good luck. So our final boss is this rotating circle thing, and a lot of the times it has a shield over its weak point. You can see it right there. There's a bunch of slots where you need to shoot. And the boss will only shoots out a ton of missiles, and if you stand very close to it, you don't really need to dodge that many missiles. So I recommend that you just stay very close to it and just watch the missiles. Don't even watch the boss. That's a common mistake with a lot of 2D shooters. you're paying attention to the boss and not everything else. Oh no, that's not our final boss. I thought it was. Never mind, that was not our final boss. Our final boss is this one. This one looks really weird. It like opens up and this one is also a pain without the reduced power-up. You have a little bit more room than you did with the previous boss, but it's still a tight squeeze, so I highly recommend you have the reduced power-up. Although, it's unlikely that you have the reduced power-up at this point because you just faced a bunch of bosses and you didn't really have an opportunity to get back to reduce mode. I know quite a few attempts where I got to that boss and I didn't have reduce, I was full-sized. And I did make it through sometimes, but it doesn't matter because the next level we're going to, I think it's the next level. I'm getting my order confused again. I have trouble remembering order sometimes, but the next level, or I think it's the next level, you're gonna die a lot. There's no way around it. It's just the next 2 levels. I think we're at the final 2 levels. We'll see in a minute here. But the final levels of the game, they're so hard. They are incredibly difficult, especially on arcade mode. And here we go. This level. Oh, man. I died so many times here. I think I died at least 200 times on this level. And you're gonna see why. There's a certain area where your odds of succeeding are near, like, 15%? I don't know. It's so hard. Now, the first part of this level, not too bad. It's stuff you've seen before. Turret enemies, flying enemies, enemies that are on the ceiling and floor. Standard stuff, things you've seen before. But you may notice that they are shooting much more frequently than they were in the earlier levels, so you gotta watch out. Watch all the bullets, because if you don't pay attention to all the bullets, you're gonna get hit. There is no way around it. You're gonna get hit, and you better hope that you have your smallest ship possible, especially for the part coming up. Because the part coming up, you're gonna die. You are going to die. If you never die in the part coming up, you are a gaming legend. But I highly doubt anyone will ever make it through this part on their first try. It may be some miracle, but they most likely will not make it through, and you're gonna see why. Now, with a lot of areas in this stage, there's a lot of tunnels you have to go through, and that part right there, that's just, why would the developers do that? You may be thinking you're going into that part being safe, but, and then the floor just comes up, and I know my first time playing, I got fooled by that, and I'm like, what? Why? Why would they do that? This boss right here, one of the easiest bosses in the game. Focus on destroying the bottom and top hatches and the turrets that are on the center part, and once you do that, the bosses have absolutely no attack. It stands there and does nothing. But that's not the end of it. No. Here we go. This is the hardest part in the game without question. This part is ridiculous. Look at this. Look at this. Look at how many meteors are coming to get you. You are probably going to take a hit here. I think I made it through that 5 times where I did not take a hit. And you better hope you can get into reduce mode, because this part wouldn't be a problem if these enemies didn't stand where they died. Like, once you kill them, that's where they are. And there's just so many times where you get trapped. And this is where you need the option setup I'm using. You need the wide range of attack. You need it. You need to be able to kill those enemies before they get to your level. Otherwise, you're going to die. Simple as that. But oh no, the fun's not over yet. Now we reach one of the, I don't want to say hardest boss because it's not really a boss. It's just a giant enemy. But these spiders, this is the one part I wish I had the energy laser for. These spiders can take a beating, and if they walk around, they might hit you. It's hard to explain, but you kind of need the energy laser. It's highly recommend. No, I don't want to say highly recommended because the twin laser is so much better. However, if you were to choose the energy laser, it would really pay off in this section, as well as some of the bosses. But you can make it through with the twin laser. You just have to hit it a lot. And if you get close to it, you can shoot faster, so try to get close to it, but don't be too risky. Because at this point, we're nearing the end of the game. We only have one level left, and you don't want to die there. And those spiders, they did manage to kill me a good 20 or so times, but I kind of wish I had the energy laser there, but for everything else, the twin laser is just better. So if you really like the energy laser, then that part you're going to have no problems with. But here's a great demonstration of why the twin laser plus the setup I'm using is the best, because you can kill all of the enemies that are coming in like formations. You can kill them all at once, and I just think it's the best setup. If you like another setup, that's fine, but I disagree with you. I think I have the best setup in the game. So now we're at our final level. Finally. Oh, I made it here 11 times, and the 10 times that I died, I felt so bad. I felt terrible. I just did. Oh, you have no idea how demoralizing it is to get here and die. It's just, and to be honest, this level, it's not really that hard. There's a lot of these enemies that, like, they have these arms that grow, and they shoot some bullets, but it's not too bad. Later, we'll be seeing some standard enemies, but this level, it's not really that hard. It's definitely easier than the last level, but I did die here like 11 times, and each of the times I died, I just felt terrible. Especially the time where I died at the final screen of the game. Oh, I just felt awful. I did. The second part of the level, not too bad. There's a bunch of bubble enemies and some turrets on the walls. Nothing too difficult. But at this point, you know you're at the end of the game, so you're getting all tense, you're getting nervous, or at least I was, because this is the end of the game, and you've been through so much, and especially for me, after going through this hundreds of times, and it's so nerve-wracking, and I can't explain it to you in words. You have to experience it. Now, this final screen of the game, this wall, oh, I died there. I did, because the wall regenerated right as I was going into the opening. And I felt terrible. I was gonna quit the challenge. I'm not gonna lie. After that, I didn't feel like playing this game anymore. I was so angry. The angriest I've ever been at a video game, and it was just, oh, you have no idea. But if you saw my earlier video, then you know how I feel about that wall. So here's our final boss. You might expect the final boss to be incredibly difficult, but nope. You just sit right in the top. You have two options. You can either shoot at him a bunch and he'll die. I mean, he doesn't have that much health, and his one attack very easy to avoid. But my strategy, I sit up here, and then eventually he kills himself. And if you watched my earlier video, then you saw that he just kills himself. I don't know why. I don't get it, but that's what he does. And then after he died, I rejoiced. I celebrated. I couldn't believe I finally did it. Ah, it's so hard. It was so hard. But I'm glad I did it. I'm glad that there were a lot of comments on the last video I posted on Gradius 3. Just of people telling me to continue trying, don't give up. You're almost there, you're gonna do it soon, and I really thank those people for encouraging me, because I was gonna quit. I really was, but then I saw those comments and I'm like, people want me to finish it, so I finished it. And it was only 15 attempts after that last video that I actually completed it, and I was very pleased. Now, what's your reward for completing arcade mode? Do you get anything special? Do you get some sort of extra cutscene? No, you really don't. However, you do get a strange reward. Yeah, we're going to be seeing something very interesting in a couple of seconds. Or not, at the end of credits. It's sort of a developer Easter egg, and I really don't understand. To be honest, it doesn't make much sense to me. But, they decided to put it in. And that's the end of the Gradius 3 Flawless Run. I hope you enjoyed. And I hope you join me next time for my next challenge. And until next time, I'm Give Up, your Appalachian's Technical Monkey, signing out.